bad choices, really decide for yourself. Because this is just Romeo and Juliet. There's no friar, there's no nurse, there's no Tybalt, there's no Mercutio to change everything. So see what their story is like. Make sense? Any questions before we start? No? Okay. Have fun, enjoy, and I present to you R plus J forever. Rosaline, oh Rosaline, Rosie, 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 ooh. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Love to smoke, raised with the fume of sighs, being purged of fire, sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed, a sea nourished with lovers' tears. Oh, what is it else? A madness most discreet, a choking gall, preserving sweet. Oh, teach me how I should forget to think.
Show me a mistress who is but passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note where I may read who is past that passing fair? At that same feast of ancient Capulet sups the fair Rosaline. I'll go along, no such sight to be shown, but to rejoice in the splendor of mine own.
This party's such a canker blossom. Have any of you guys seen Paris? Have you seen Paris? Paris? Okay. Don't tell me where I am. I'm avoiding him. My dad wants me to marry him, but he's gross. Nobody my age even comes to these things. I mean, except for you guys. Such a good party, yes.
What lady is that?
Juliet.
Juliet.
Yeah.
Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers, make blessed my rude hand. Did my heart love till now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night.
Oh my God.
You, book,
Oh.
gift, sir.
Thanks.
Well,
Thank you
no,
so much.
No, if I profane with my unworthiest hand, this from thy lips. Oh, trespass, sweetly urged. Give me my sinning.
Okay. You kissed by the book.
Is she a Capulet?
Yes.
Oh, dear Count, my life is my foe's death.
He's a Montague? My only love sprung from my only hate. I'm too early seen, unknown, and known too late. Oh, prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy. Oh.
Can I go forward when my heart is here?
Yeah?
I should. What? I have to go after my love. Okay. Turn back, dull earth, and find thy center out. Oh, window breaks. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, for she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks. She says nothing. Yet what of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. That is not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars, all the heaven having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, and they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eye in heaven would through the airy regions stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. Do you see how she leans her cheek upon her hand? Ooh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
Oh, Romeo.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night being o'er my head as is a winged messenger of heaven unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him as he bestrides the lazy puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air.
Romeo. Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
Do you speak? Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor any other part belonging to a man. No, be some other name! That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Though Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I am baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo.
What man art thou that thus bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel?
But by name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair maid, if either thee dislike.
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and a place of death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find me here.
Love's like wings that are perch these walls. For For stony limits cannot keep love out, nor what love can do, that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Alack, thou hast more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, I'm proof against their enmity.
I would not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to shield me from their sight. If but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than by death prorogued, wanting of thy love.
By whose direction foundst thou out this place?
My love, which first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I'm no pilot, yet were thou as far as that vast shore washed from the farthest sea, I would venture for such merchandise.
Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush but paint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. Oh, fain would I dwell unformed, fain deny what I have spoke. But farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thee at thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayst prove false. Lovers' perjuries, they say, Job laughs. Then, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkst I am too quickly won, I shall frown and be perverse and say me nay. So thou wilt. But else, not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond. Therefore thou mayest think my behavior light, but trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those who have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, but that thou overheardst ere I was ware my true love's passion. Therefore do not impute this yielding to light love which the dark night hath so discovered.
Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that...
I swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon who monthly changes in her circled orb, lest thy love prove likewise variable.
What shall I swear by?
Do not swear at all. Or, if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee.
My heart's due.
Thou wilt do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I do not joy in this contract. Tonight it was too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning that does cease to be, ere one can say it lightens. Sweet, good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when we next meet. Good night. A sweet reposing rest come to thy heart as that within my breast.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine?
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it. Yet I would it were to give again.
Couldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
But to be frank and give it thee again. I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. Nurse, I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu.
Oh, blessed, blessed night! But I am afeard, being a night, all this is but a dream. Too flattering, sweet to be substantial.
3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite, and all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world. But if thou meanst not well, I do beseech. By and by I come to cease thy suit, and leave me to my grief. Tomorrow will I send.
So thrive my soul.
1,000 times good night.
A thousand times the worse to want thy light.
Love goes toward love, as schoolboys from their books. But love from love towards school with heavy looks.
Voice that would lure this gentle tassel back again.
It is my soul that calls upon my name. How sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo,
My dear,
at what o'clock tomorrow shall I send thee?
at the hour of 9.
I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back.
Let me stand here till thou remember it.
I shall forget to have thee still standing there, remembering how I love thy company.
And I'll still stay, to have thee still forgetting any other home but this.
But 'tis almost morning. I would have thee gone, and yet no further than a wanton's bird that lets little hop from her hand.
I would I were thy bird.
Sweet, so would I. Yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night until it be morrow.
Would I were sleep in peace, so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, his help to crave, that my dear hap to tell. Great. Bid her devise some means to come to Shrift this afternoon. There she shall at Friar Lawrence cell be shrived and married. Farewell, commend me to thy mistress.
The clock struck 9 when I did send the nurse, and in half an hour she promised to return. Perchance she cannot meet him. No, that's not so. Oh. She is lame. Love's herald should be thoughts which 10 times faster glide than the sun's beams, driving back shadows over lowering hills. Therefore do nimble pinion dust all love, and therefore hath the wind swift Cupid's wings. But now is the sun upon the highmost hill of this day's journey, which from 9 till 12 is 3 long hours. Yet she is not come. Had she affections and warm youthful blood, she would be as swift in motion as a ball. My words would bandy her to my sweet love, and his to me. But old folks, any fain as they were dead, unwieldy, slow, heavy, pale as lead. Have any of you seen my nurse? No? Nurse! There you are. What took you so long? What's this? Juliet. Juliet, you had leave to go to Shrift today. Church? What? So hie you hence to Friar Lawrence cell. There stays a husband to make you a wife. Oh my God! Oh, thank you, nurse. High fortune, honest nurse, farewell.
Amen. Amen, but come what sorrow can. It cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight. If thou wilt close our hands with holy words, love devouring death, do what ye dare. It is enough I may but call her mine.
Good evening to my... Oh,
Juliet, if the measure of thy joy be heaped like mine, and that thy skill be more to blazon it, and sweeten with thy breath this neighbor air, that rich music's tongue match the imagined happiness that both receive in either by this dear encounter.
Conceit, more rich in matter than in words, brags of his substance, not of ornament. They are but beggars that can count their worth, but my true love has grown to such excess, I cannot sum up some of half my wealth.
Shivers down my spine, fly
loving, black-browed knight, give me my Romeo. And when I shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars. For he shall make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I have bought the mansion of a love and not yet possessed it, and though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So tedious is this day as is the night before some festival to an impatient child who hath new robes and may not wear them. I hear my nurse. I think she brings news.
Oh, Mercutio! Tybalt hath killed my friend Mercutio. This day's black fate on more days doth end. This but begins the woe that others must end. Alive in triumph, and Mercutio slain. Away to heaven respective lenity and fire-eyed fury be my conduct now. Now, Tybalt, take that villain back again which late thou gavest me. For Mercutio's soul is but a little ways above our heads, saying for thine to keep him company. Either thou or I or both must go with him. Oh, I am fortune's fool.
Oh God! Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood. Tybalt is dead, and Romeo banished. That one word banished has slain 10,000 Tybalts. Tybalt's death was woe enough if it had ended there, but with a rearward following, Tybalt is dead and Romeo banished. To speak that word is father, mother, Tybalt, Romeo, and Juliet, all slain and all dead. Oh God. I'll to my wedding bed, and death, not Romeo, take my maidenhead.
Banishment? Be merciful, say death. For exile hath more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment. There is no world without Verona walls, but purgatory, torture, and hell itself. Hence banished is banished from the world, and world's exile is death. Its banished is death misturned. Calling death banished, thou cutt'st my head off with a golden axe, and smilest upon the stroke that murders me. 'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing lives here in heaven, and may look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. They may seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand and steal immortal blessing from her lips, who even in pure and vestal modesty still blush as thinking their own kisses sing. But Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men, but I am banished. As if that name, Romeo, shot from the deadly level of a gun, did murder her. As that name's cursed hand murdered her cousin. Oh, tell me in what vile part of this anatomy doth my name lodge? Tell me that I may sack the hateful mansion.
You're the lullaby that's singing me sleep.
streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candle is burnt out. Jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and stay, or stay and die.
Young light is not daylight. I know it. It is some meteor that the sun exhales to be to thee a torchbearer and light thee on thy way to Meridian. Therefore thou needst not be gone. Stay.
Let me be taken. Let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt have it so. I'll say, yon gray is not the morning's eye, 'tis but the pale reflex of Cynthia's brow. Nor 'tis not the lark whose notes do beat the vaulty heavens so high above our heads. I have more care to stay than will to go. Come, death, and welcome! Juliet wills it so. How is my soul? Let's talk. It is not your day.
Oh, it is. It is. High hands begone away. It is the lark that sings so out of tune, straining harsh discords and unpleasing sharps. Some say the lark makes sweet division. Well, this doth not so, for she divideth us. Some say the lark and the loathed toad changed eyes. I heard they had changed voices too, since arm from arm their voice doth us affray, hunting thee hence with hunts up to the day. More light and light it grows.
More light and light, more dark and dark our woes.
Nurse?
The day is broke. Be wary. Look about.
The window let day in and let life out. Wilt thou be gone so? Aye, husband, lord, friend, I must hear from thee every minute in the day, for in an hour there are many days. Shall be much in years ere I again behold my Romeo.
Farewell. I will omit no opportunity to convey my greetings, love, to thee.
Thinkest thou we shall ever meet again?
I doubt it not. And all these woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our times to come. Adieu. Adieu.
Fortune! Fortune, all men call thee fickle, Fortune. If thou art fickle, what dost thou with him that is renowned for faith? Be fickle, Fortune, for I hope thou wilt not keep him long, but send him back. What sayest thou, nurse? Letter? Juliet, you will be ruled by me. Thursday next you will go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither, or never thereafter look me in the face, your father. I pray you, madams, tell my lord and father I will not marry yet, and when I do, it shall be Romeo rather than Paris. Is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Come, I'll to the friar to know his remedy. If all else fail, I myself have power to die.
Flattering truth of sleep, my dreams presage some joyful news at hand. My bosom's lord sits lightly in his throne, and all this while an unaccustomed spirit lifts me above the ground with cheerful thoughts. I dreamt that my lady came and found me dead. Strange dream that gives a dead man leave to think, that breathes such life, that kisses my lips, that I revived and was an emperor. Ah me, how sweet is love itself possessed, but love's shadows are so rich in joy. It's news from Verona.
Take thou this vial. Being then in bed, and this distilling liquor drink thou off. When presently through all thy veins shall run a cold and drowsy humor, for no pulse shall keep his native progress but surcease. No breath shall testify thou livest, no warmth. Thou shalt continue 42 hours, and then awake as from a pleasant sleep. In the meantime, against thou shalt wait, shall Romeo by my letters know our drift. And thither shall he come, and he and I will watch thy waking, and that very night shall Romeo bear thee hence to Mantua. God joined my heart and Romeo's. Thou our hands. And ere this hand by thee sealed shall be the label to another deed. Come, Vial. Let it be a poison which the friar suddenly hath ministered to have me dead, lest in in this marriage he should be dishonored because he married me before to Romeo. No. No. I shall prevent it. Lie thou there. Romeo, I come. This do I drink to thee.
Juliet's body sleeps in Capel's monument, and her immortal part with angels lives. Is it even so? And I defy you, stars.
Well, Juliet, I will lie with thee tonight. But secret means, oh, mischief, thou art swift to enter in the thoughts of desperate men. And if a man did need a poison now, who saileth present death in Mantua, here lives a caitiff wretch would sell it him. Oh, this same thought did but forerun my need, and this same needy man must sell it me. What ho! Let me have a dram of poison. Such soon speeding gears will disperse itself through all the veins, that the life-weary taker may fall dead. Come, cordial and not poison, go with me to Juliet's grave, for there must I use thee. Thou detestable maw, thou womb of death, gorged with the dearest morsel of the earth. Hence do I enforce thy rotten jaws to open, and in despite I'll cram thee with more food. For here lies Juliet, and her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence, full of light. Oh, my love, my wife. Suck the honey of thy breath hath no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks. The death's pale flag is not advancing there. Oh, dear Juliet, why art thou yet so fair? Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is Avernus? That the lean-aboard monster keeps thee here in dark to be his paramour? For fear of that, I still will stay with thee, but never from this palace of dim night depart again. Here will I remain. Oh, here will I set up my everlasting rest, and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-weary flesh. Come, your conduct, come, unsavory guide, thou desperate pilot that once run on the dashing rocks, thy sea-sick, weary bark. Here's to my love. True apothecary, thy drugs are quick, as with a kiss, I die.
Where is my lord? I do remember well where I should be in there.
two actors. Let's give them another round of applause. For a reason. We wanted to highlight their love story and the choices that they made. What do you think about their choices? I'm going to ask the question to you. Do you think that they made good choices or bad choices? What do you think? Hold on, let me get a microphone so that we can hear you. Pull up, stretch.
I should.
Let's find it.
That's where I found that.
We don't.
Okay, what do you think?
I think they made very bad choices.
Okay, what was their bad choice?
Suicide.
Okay, great. I mean, it's the truth, right? It is what happened. So they ultimately chose to end their lives. Did they ever make a good choice throughout the entire play? What do you think? Not a single good choice? What do you think? What was a good choice?
They were both clearly in love with each other, and I think that it was good for them to like follow what they believed in and try and be together.
Okay. Yes, great. So they went after what they believed in. Who believes that they were truly in love? Who thought that this was true love? Okay, put your hands down. Who doesn't think this was true love? Who thinks this was just young, stupid romance? It's okay to feel that way. Can you stand up? Okay, why do you think that they weren't really in love?
Because at the beginning he was in love with Rosalind.
Okay. Keep going.
And he was like he thought he'd never love anyone else. But then he immediately fell in love with someone else, like just after looking at her. And I don't know.
Yes. Okay, right? Too quick of a turnaround. How do you go from loving Rosalind 1 minute to loving Juliet the next? Okay, what do you think was the turning point? When do you think was the point of no return for them? It might have been a different one for Romeo, and it might have been a different one for Juliet. What do you think? Anybody else? That's okay, we can hear from you again. Which do you want to do? Great.
So I think the point of no return for Juliet was when her dad got really mad at her and forced her to marry Paris.
Okay, great. Okay, so when her dad was forcing her to marry Paris. What did we think about that, right? We only saw her reaction to that. How do you think that affected Juliet when she was reading that letter? What do you think that did to her? Don't be shy. This is here for you guys. Yeah. Here, why don't we do this instead of stretching the cord? Why don't you stand up and come on out? Come on up. Just come on up. Because we're just gonna make it. Yeah, come on down. Okay, great. Yes. Okay. How do you think reading that letter affected Juliet? The letter from her father.
I think she wanted to not listen to her father because she was so mad. And yeah, she just didn't want to listen to him.
Okay. Okay, back to choices. Good choice or bad choice?
Good, even though she kind of died from it.
Okay. All right, let's you can have a seat. Let's unwrap that a little bit, right? It was a good choice because she didn't do something she didn't want to do. But it was a bad choice because it ultimately meant that she had to go and kill herself. Who thinks it was a good choice? Or who thinks she should have just done what her father asked her to do and marry Paris? Does anybody think that she should have married Paris? Yes? Stand up, tell us why. Yeah, give her a round of applause. It takes some bravery to stand up here and say a differing opinion. Go ahead.
Well, if she had married Paris, then maybe she wouldn't have by accidentally made Romeo think she killed herself. Because if she hadn't made him think that, then he probably wouldn't have killed himself.
Strategy. Okay, so her thought is that she could have just married Paris anyway, and then Romeo wouldn't have killed himself because she would still be alive. And then they could have maybe earned their way back to one another? Interesting. Okay. Sorry, I'm wrapping up. What else do you think that they could have done besides killing themselves? What other choices could they have made? Yes. What other choice could they have made?
Well, they could have just told their parents and make their parents be friends.
Okay.
Alright, so let's remember the world that they live in though, right? Your parents are like next to God as closely as they can be. They cannot, with any shadow of a doubt, go against their parents' opinion. So if they had done that, they could have been locked in their room forever, right? Juliet would have been like up in that tower, she would have been like Rapunzel, stuck up there, right? So think about that. Think about the world that they live in. They have no cell phones. They have no way of communicating with one another. They had to get out. So they ultimately make the choice to try and run away together. Of course, it doesn't work out. Do you guys have any questions for Juliet and Romeo? Don't be shy. Now's the time. Any other questions? Who does? Yeah, come on. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Did Juliet and Romeo make a poor decision by getting married away from their parents? Without their parents' consent? Yeah? What do you think? Hold on.
In the play, like, they're supposed to be pretty young. Like, Juliet's only, like, 13, and, like, Romeo's, like, 20, 18-ish. So, like, they just kind of were like, oh, I love you, like, let's get married. Like, they didn't, like, think, like, oh, wait, this probably isn't the best idea.
Okay. So getting married too young was part of their issue, right? Okay, so what about the other characters in the play that we didn't see? Did you miss not seeing the friar or not seeing the nurse? Was it confusing to you at all? Okay, so most of you have read the play, right? Have you read the entire play? Some of you have, some of you haven't. Oh, okay, some of you are in different grades. Great, so did you miss not having the nurse there as like a shoulder for Juliet to lean on? What about the nurse? How does she affect Juliet? What do you think?
Well, the nurse is aware of the little plan, and she often helps, and she's one of the only people that knew they were married.
Okay. But doesn't the nurse also tell Juliet to marry Paris? So she kind of betrays her in a way. It's not a betrayal, it's a what? Oh, she's doing what's best for Juliet. And that's a really good thought. Let's hear from Juliet. What do you think about the nurse and how she affects you in this play?
Hello. I think that the nurse obviously is one of the people who brings in a lot of the information, right? So she comes into like their bedchamber during the lark scene, or she comes in and is like, Romeo wants to marry you, you know? And so she aids her in a lot of ways. And then I think you're absolutely right. The decision that the nurse makes is she thinks the best decision for Juliet, and she's been taking care of her since she was little. But as Juliet, I think it's a massive betrayal. It's like, well, you want me to be happy, right? I won't be happy with Paris. I don't want to marry him. So I think not having her in our production is like, how do I find the betrayal in her actions without having her actually here? If that makes any sense.
Did any of you notice that at many points of the play, you were the nurse and the friar?
Yeah, you were.
Did anybody notice that? And how was that for you, being a part of the play?
Cool. Sorry, I shrieked in your face. I'm so excited.
And it's really important for them to be able to feed off of you guys. You guys were as much a part of the play as possible because you were their next partners, right? It was just Romeo and Juliet. There was no Mercutio, there was no friar, there was no Tybalt, there was no nurse. It was only you guys. So it was really important for them to have that feedback with you, right? What about for Romeo? What do you think about Romeo and his choices? Was there anything that you think he could have done better or could have done differently to change the outcome of the play? Who else? Anybody new? Anybody new? Great. What could he have done differently?
Not killing her cousin.
Ah,
Like, that was like not a good decision.
okay.
Romeo could have clearly not killed Tybalt, right? But how is he going to avenge Mercutio's death? Right? How could he avenge Mercutio's death without killing Tybalt? What could he have done? What? Okay, so what?